Instagram post is not the same as a press release or an article or paper, I feel. So for me, Instagram is truly like a place to raise curiosity.
Sevim Aktas has been working at the European Commission for almost 5 years. She currently works as a policy assistant responsible for communication coordination across the climate, energy, environment and competition portfolio in the cabinet of Commissioner Mikalev. Alongside her institutional role, she is an established EU content creator on Instagram, where she shares practical insights on EU climate policy, careers and purpose. In 2025, she was ranked number 2 in the top 10 EU influencer on Instagram, recognizing her impact in making EU politics more accessible and relatable to a wider audience. My name is Emna Chauch, and this is Echoes of Europecom, the European podcast on public communication. Sevim, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Emna. How are you?
I'm very good. Very happy to have you with us. So today we're going to talk about a bunch of topics, and we're so happy to have you here, starting with a lot of opportunities that we see in everything that you do. And the first subject that I want to touch upon is activism in the Brussels bubble. So the term Brussels bubble is often used to describe the world around EU policymaking. And from your experience working close to EU policymaking and explaining it to a wider audience, my first question to you is, how do you understand the role of the Brussels bubble in shaping political engagement? And how does engagement from within or near this space differ from activism that happens further away from EU institutions?
I find the term Brussels bubble very funny, I have to say. And I feel like it has, compared to other big cities, for example, like London, Paris, Berlin, for some reason, the worst reputation with grey, bureaucratic and boring. At least that's what I hear a lot outside of the Brussels bubble, or also when you're following the news, etc. That's kind of like the terms that coin Brussels. But once you live here or visit or have, visit the institutions, etc., you get a sense of a place where ideas become policy, where culture collides, where diplomacy, activism, lobbying, and art all somehow end up in the same conversation. And I feel, honestly, it can be shaped from anywhere. And the digital world has allowed us to bridge that connection to citizens all across, not only through social media, but also like through all the opportunities that the Commission is providing. I mean, being here is a different feeling for sure. Working at the institutions or in the ecosystem, it has this. I mean, you feel that you're working on something that will change the lives of 450 million people. At least once in a while you remind yourself and you're like, wow, actually, yes, that's what it's about. But I'm a firm believer that changing the world starts with changing your environment. So I don't think you need to be here to influence what's happening in the EU. But following the conversations help to understand where we're heading, where the vision is being set or like the direction is being put towards to. And being able to follow the conversations here, I feel like there's so many EU influences that help in breaking down what's happening in this very policy language environment, let me say, into a simple way to be able to follow and then apply it in your environment.
We will get back on this topic because there is a lot to say about this. In your experience, Sevim, where do young professionals have real room to shape narratives, priorities, or public understanding from inside the system?
Yeah, well, I sometimes wonder about this, honestly. Is it about shaping the narratives or implementing the vision? Because I feel like talking is the easy part, and the more difficult and impactful side is building on the vision or executing it, let me say. Because there are plenty of engagement opportunities that the EU offers. I mean, is it in the youth dialogue? I mean, all of the EU institutions actually offer. Is it the Parliament, the Committee of the Regions, the European Commission, etc., with its youth dialogues and ambassador programs, and trying to get youth more into the conversation, which I think is very important. But there is a big frustration indeed of like, oh, but it's a dialogue, and then what happens afterwards? But instead of pointing fingers, I would like to switch the table a little bit, or like turn tables around, let me say, and ask, what's the point? I mean, like, what's the purpose here? Is it having real room? Like, what does it mean, like having real room to shape narratives or priorities? It's already plenty of things are offered. Like the struggle is getting more people in for sure. However, again, like looking at what you can do in your environment is if you like talking more than doing, then get involved in politics, locally, regionally, nationally, because there's no point in standing on the sidelines and then whining that nothing is changing. Well, we all know that youth representation in politics is very, very low. Also because of the interest. I mean, the data shows that exactly that. So I don't know. I feel like we do need more youth representatives, but I'm very doubtful whether the solution to that is youth dialogues or really getting engaged and hands-on themselves, either by engaging in politics if someone likes to talk more, or by actually building the solutions that we're talking about, or the vision that we're setting. Is it in climate action? Is the area that I'm most familiar with, for example. I just see a lot of graduates from universities, etc., going into consultancy roles where they're again just talking and writing reports that no one will read. And maybe I'm cynical in this respect, but I see like a clear impact path, and that won't happen with talking.
You speak of talking and doing. Let's talk about passive and active citizens. Mm-hmm. Because many Europeans follow EU politics casually, but they never really take the step towards participation. So what role do digital platforms play in turning curiosity into concrete civic engagement, especially among younger generations?
It's a very good question, and I mean, part of the reason why I have started Inside EU, the social media account, was because of my frustration that there wasn't anything that kind of bridges this gap between the institutions and people in a way that I would have liked it. So very naive me was like, okay, if it doesn't exist, let me create it. And just for context, I mean, I come from a perspective where I was really not interested in politics at all, like very far away from it. And I was looking for a way to get quick overviews of policies around climate and energy, but that doesn't require like reading 500-page reports or like an entire press release, which was very technical at the end of the day. But also when I look at the communication of politicians, I feel like it's very often a communication from a perspective of this is important, so you should care, or a lot of like fluffy words that have no meaning and like maybe like clickbaity or trying to be clickbaity posts, and it just doesn't reach, and it doesn't feel genuine either. I have to say, and I'm talking from a personal perspective point of view, just to make that clear. But what I've seen, what clearly works, and I think that's also one of the reasons why Inside EU, my Instagram account is really appreciated among the community, is I focus on insights, on practical things that people can do, on what the policy means to, you know, us as young professionals or students, what they can do. For example, if the JRC shares a report, so the Joint Research Centre, the EU Science Hub of the European Union, shares a scientific report, and they're incredible, by the way, really top-notch research on all kinds of topics. I would very much recommend to check them out. But I'm thinking like, okay, like what does it mean? Why should a person care? And one, my audience, again, is young professionals or students. If you're students, it's great resources for your thesis, sources to look into, references. From young professionals' perspective, if it touches on the sector that you're working on, well, have a quick skim of the report and be, you know, the person who is one step ahead, let me say, by knowing either that JRC policy report or by knowing what's coming up in the sector from a EU regulation perspective. So I'm all about making the person look beautiful, the people across Europe, helping them to move forward. And I feel like that change is, or flip, so communicating not from a perspective of this is important to you, you should care, but this is how it can help you to elevate you to become like a better version of yourself. At least that's my mission, and I hope I'm helping some people out there.
You mention ways of speaking. So where do you see opportunities for EU institutions and communicators to move away from bureaucratic language and speak rather in ways that resonate with how people actually live, work, and plan their future?
I mean, number one for me is choosing your battle. I know in Brussels we want to communicate everything all at once because all the little details are very important. And so like we try to include all the information in one post or one speech or whatever that could be. But an Instagram post is not the same as a press release or an article or paper, I feel. So for me, Instagram is truly like a place to raise curiosity and be practical to, like, I'm not sharing all the little details about that. It's also not for my audience. So again, like I think what could really, really help to move from the bureaucratic language to a place for that really matters for the people is to honestly just have a sit down and think, why should my brother or my mom in this rural town in Germany care? Or have a quick conversation with them. And here again, I mean, I know we're all extremely busy. For me, the question is, well, do you want to, is it quantity or is it quality? And then, yeah, you choose your battle.
Let's talk about social media and social media as a tool for engagement. So Sevim, you are not only working inside EU climate policy, but also translating that work into short-form content for tens of thousands of followers on Instagram. From your experience, as an EU advisor by day and digital creator by night, how do you approach explaining complex EU policies in a format that is fast, visual, and algorithm-driven without losing substance or credibility?
So first of all, I cut out the opinion because I mean, that was also my frustration. One of my frustrations when I started this account. Like there are a lot of like people just commenting and putting their opinions, etc. And honestly, I just want to know black and white what's in this policy report or like what's in this regulation. Like I really don't care about so many people's opinions. And that's what I was missing. And I think that's also the substance and credibility part. Like I share the things as they are without telling them like, oh, this is good or this is bad. I'm helping them to formulate their own thinking. That's one. Two, I'm always trying to think from a perspective on here are 4 things you need to know. And this is not trying to dumb down the policy paper or something or the regulation, but I'm trying to see it from a perspective of when I have a conversation over a dinner table, explaining to my friend or my family members, for example, how would I tell it to them? And very often what happens is, because these regulations are very complex for sure, but I noticed like I really very often draw back on my posts as like a high level, this is the direction that's heading to give a quick breakdown of what a policy or regulation is about. And again, there the practical thinking comes in. Like, I don't want to hear the fluffy things. I maybe this is the engineer in me. I really don't know. But I'm like, what are you truly saying? What does it actually mean? And really questioning ourselves as well. Like, read a sentence and be like, okay, but what does it actually mean? There are always like a lot of these words of like resilience or other buzzwords. And I'm like, okay, what does this actually mean? And by asking this multiple times to get down to the drill, it really takes time, like to create these posts because I'm really thinking, and I'm also not doing this alone, by the way. I in the meantime have a team of 6 people who are helping me out to create these posts. But we very often we just discuss it together. Like we really challenge of like, okay, but what does it mean to the person who's reading this, and how can it help them to move forward? Again, it's a matter of mission. But I do get a lot of feedback when I'm doing like comms presentations, etc., or like tips and tricks of like, oh, but it's you cannot dumb down something so complex. Or I also hear a lot like, oh, it's too complex to explain. And here I always revert to something that I learned from some of the greatest minds in physics during my engineering studies, namely Einstein, who says, if you cannot explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. Yeah, sorry, I think he has a point. And Feynman also, like the ultimate test of your knowledge is your ability to convey it to another. And if we're talking about the relativity theory in quantum physics, and it's true, I've worked with both of their, like Feynman has a whole book series, for example, that we use during our studies. I mean, that's the true. Yeah, I mean, beyond communication, I think this really goes beyond communication. It's a way of living and thinking, and I think it's very unfair to exclude people from something just because you think it's too complex to explain.
What kind of feedback do you receive from your followers about this type of micro content?
Very appreciative. I'm very surprised to the. I mean, I would have never expected an account which is so dense in information, after all, on a short attention platform like Instagram, to be so appreciated and valued. So one is, oh, that's good to know. Another set of feedback that I get is, if you look at my comments, for example, it's constructive criticism, and I love it. It's never hate. I never get like trolls or something on my account, which is funny because it's like more than 40,000 followers on this account. So I would expect some kind of that type of sentiment there. But if they criticize, it's more a conversation of thinking along, of how actually this is what it means for my country. And I love it. And I really appreciate the community in that sense. It's beautiful people. I mean, also my team was recruited from my social media account from all across Europe. And every interaction that I had or got to meet people from the community is just very... it's beautiful hearts. Like, I don't know how else to describe it, honestly. It's people who care. I mean, who else like would follow, like this very... informative content on social media. So I very, very much appreciate it. And then of course, like there's a bunch of feedback of like, hey, I actually I never thought much about the EU, but through you I learned it's actually not that bad. Appreciate it. Or through the career tips that I share, it's really people like, oh, I have never considered working for the EU, or that I could play a role there, or that my background would be relevant. But for you, I applied and I'm in Brussels. Do you want to meet up for a coffee? And I really appreciate that. And it's great to see.
You speak of a community. So what does it take to turn online followers into genuine communities and eventually into actors who feel ownership over European issues?
I think it's two things in particular. I am being honest. I do say when I don't know everything, I do say that we're learning together. And I open up the conversation in that sense. Like, I'm not pretending that I'm a super guru or something. And second, I'm trying to help. Like, I'm really trying to help. And it's beautiful to see that it lands and that people appreciate it. But I really want them to do well. And I feel they sense it.
We've talked about opportunities. Let's talk about challenges now. And namely, balancing online and offline, and therefore hybrid activism. Online engagement alone often reaches its limits. So how important is it to combine digital activism with offline formats such as local events, workshops, or community meetups?
I would say super important. I mean, at the end of the day, what moves the needle is not a post, but a conversation. And it's something that I would love to move more towards with my community as well, that they organize local events, that they talk about certain things together with their friends, family, and prompt them to do such. So really move people from passive consumers to active participants, or what they can do in their environment, and be kind of message spreader / ambassador in that sense, or community leader. But okay, like I'm doing this part-time, like I do this on the side, so maybe I'm not the best example on this one in particular.
You're doing great already. Do you take concrete actions to translate your online conversations into offline engagement sometimes?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, I inspire them from the online world, and they make the changes in the offline world. I mean, is it in changing careers, or like I mean, to me it's really insane, like someone just seeing a post of me online and being like, hey, like I could be her, and then let's say like applying for one of the EU roles or jobs that are there, completely changing, like moving away, like coming to Brussels and doing, I mean, it's changing someone's life from one trajectory to another. And I hope everyone has a good time through it, but obviously I cannot promise that. It's individual journeys. But is again, like given that I'm doing this part-time, I think that's impactful enough.
Let's talk now about solutions and future directions. We want to build a new European public sphere, so looking ahead, what would a healthy European public sphere look like in the digital age?
I think it brings together many things that I mentioned throughout our conversation. I think honesty would really help. Talking about tough things, also saying that certain decisions are come with trade-offs. I think honesty is the core thing, honestly. Like taking big decisions always comes with uncertainty, and we're living in like one of the most uncertain times ever, at least what I've seen in my lifetime so far. So I mean, but also with AI and like all like the social media picking up, like everyone having their phones in their hand, and all the geopolitical disruptions that are happening like almost on a daily basis, it's very overwhelming. And I think the role that Europe can play, one is the stability of its principles and its values is one. But part of those values is being honest. And I feel like there's just too much of that lacking, honestly. I feel like we can really gain some trust by saying like, okay, this is a difficult decision and it will not be perfect for everyone, but we need to move forward because of X, Y, Z, or we need to figure it out and we don't know what the outcomes will be. I mean, you can gather people around a specific vision where people are willing to take personal sacrifices if I think you're honest. But that's my very non-political science, non-comms background perspective view on what I'm observing for a healthy European public sphere.
We're almost reaching the end. Sevim, if you could give 3 pieces of advice to someone who wants to become an activist in the EU context today, what would they be?
First of all, get familiar with the ecosystem. And there are EU influencers out there that really help in doing that. And we've recently taken the initiative to launching EU influencer list. So if you go on Instagram and type in EU influencer, you'll come across different people focusing on different sectors that communicate about EU knowledge. I think that's number one. So understand it. Second is having practical experience really helps. I've worked before I joined the Commission in the construction sector and seeing how a project really is being implemented. Namely, that the project report doesn't necessarily reflect what's happening on site, that there are many ad hoc decisions or budget overruns or difficulties coming in with building something, building a house, building an energy plant, building grid infrastructure, or in fact, the more difficult thing, changing it, updating it. I think that will really help you to fine-tune your interventions or the things that you're advocating for in a way that you'll be listened to. Because you go away from general statements like, oh, more of this or more climate action or to something that is you understand the world better. And by understanding the world better, you're able to propose also better solutions. And I would love to see people moving away from cynicism towards, okay, how can we do this? What do you suggest? How can we build this? Like ideas. And I have to be very honest, I'm a little bit disappointed by young people. At least maybe in the Brussels bubble, it echoes even more. It's always so negative. And I do understand that the world currently is very overwhelming, but getting stuck in this paralysis, or this overwhelming is leading to paralysis. I get it, but at the same time, like I very often think of midst of World War II. I mean, desperation there was legitimate. People lost their homes. I mean, it's tragic. And those people had the right to complain, but instead they tried to build and they created something called the European Union out of desperation and really hopelessness, and it's like a phoenix coming up. And I feel like the role of young people is don't watch social media that much and fuel this victimization role or whatsoever it is, but try to think of ways of what you can do in your environment, really practical. And the internet is at your fingertips. If you're oh, I don't know what to do, I'm okay, but then spend half an hour and look into it. And I can hear it from my voice. It comes from a point of frustration a bit, but I feel like we're too easy to give up. And I'm here now talking about statistics, but the statistics of success is not 1 in 10. It's one of 10,000, and I'm really generous here. For one person to succeed, 10,000 people need to have tried the same thing. And through failure, we learn, and we don't need to always succeed in what we attempt. I think, at least that's my approach. It's my failure can help someone else to do it better. And it's about us moving to a united Europe where we're all in peace and well-being, where we celebrate love and look around, all these different people from different countries just feeling one and in their differences as well, but feeling united. And that to me doesn't come from being cynical all the time. That comes from, standing up for and doing. Voila. I don't know whether this makes sense, but
yes, representing very much who you are too.
Yeah.
As a final thought, is there anything you would like to leave our listeners with that we have not covered yet?
I always say I update my opinion based on new evidence. And in fact, I'm changing my mind very frequently based on conversations and people who teach me better. So I hope that we can enter that conversation. So if there's anything that you would like to add on or update or change or disagree with me on, be my guest. Let's have a constructive conversation.
Great. I think this has been received. Sevim Aktas, thank you so much for joining the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure, and I hope there was something that helped.
It has been a pleasure too. Thank you. See you soon.
Bye.
For our listeners, thank you for joining in. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Echoes of EuropeCom. If you liked it, feel free to share it with your network. This is a podcast series of the European Committee of the Regions. For more information on EuropeCom, please visit the website cor.europa.eu.